after we kind of go through everybody else. Alderman Patton.
Yeah, thanks, Alderman. I know I'm not a member of your committee. Appreciate the opportunity to just ask a few questions, make a few comments on this ordinance. First and foremost, I think item number 4 to me poses a great deal of problems. And you all know that there have been numerous situations over the last few years where various elected officials' email accounts have been disabled. And in some cases, in the case of me, disabled without any notice or prior notification from the city administration. So the only way for me to respond to resident emails is to forward them to a personal account, send them from a personal account, which is not something that I wanted to do for obvious reasons. I don't use my personal cell phone for city business, but if I start forwarding sending emails to my personal account, which is linked to my phone, that opens up all sorts of issues. So, but there have been certain cases where that's been the only outlet that I've had. If I didn't forward my city emails to my personal email address, I had no other way to respond. I had no other way to access email. So this prohibition on forwarding our city emails to personal accounts to me seems problematic. Especially in light of some of the things that have happened in the last few days. There's kind of some additional thoughts. I think that rather than a board made up by the city attorney, city prosecutor, special counsel, it would be worth looking into doing something similar to what municipalities do for their local electoral boards, and having the mayor, the city clerk, and the senior alderman serve as kind of the arbitrators of any of these issues, with, of course, any one of those people that are subject to a complaint removing themselves and then putting in the next most senior alderman. I think that gives a little bit more to the council. Even though we do, at the end of the day, approve appointments to city attorney, corporation counsel, and special counsel. I think it's been shown in the past, and Alderman Everett and I experienced this in our first budget, when we had questions about the budget, questions about the process, and questions about motions on the floor made properly or improperly. The city attorney that was sitting in the chair that night gave us bad advice. We've had bad advice from other attorneys throughout my tenure, not just the last 3 years. And so I think giving the process to us as an elected body, whether it be the mayor or the city clerk, the senior alderman, if none of those people are involved in the complaint, and then just kind of moving down the line, there might be something worth considering. I saw some comments back and forth over the weekend that this ordinance is presented doesn't include or exclude certain people. I just want to make sure that there's language in here that makes it clear that it applies to all council officials, whether you're the alderman, the mayor, the city clerk, the treasurer. From now and from 20 years from now, whoever's sitting in these seats should all be held to the same standard, whatever that standard is that we agree to. So that's just my thoughts on this. All I can tell you, I appreciate you again letting me speak on this as I'm not a member of your committee, but appreciate it.
Thank you. Anybody else want to add?
I do. Thank you for having this meeting. And I echo what Alderman Patton has just said, with one question. When we are talking about the attorneys, it came out today that there is some impropriety with one of the attorneys we have on council here, in regards to mental rape and mental harassment of an alderwoman in Harvey. So that would be my concern. If something is interpreted one way, then we have this alderman that, or this mayor and an attorney that does not always have the best or want the best for the sitting officials. Whom else can we employ to be an impartial party in this, because I am without emails, because the mayor's interpretation of what he felt was political email, when I was simply asking for a city tool that the rest of this council has, purchase ordering, that I do not have and have not had for nearly 4 years. And yet I have had to pay a cost to have my own email. There was a suggestion from the attorneys to have email forwarded to my personal email. I don't have the same firewalls as the city. So I would like, I don't feel comfortable with this as it is, and I understand this is just a starting point.
Yeah.
But I won't have emails until we have a policy. That is unfair. It is harassment because no other male on this council is without emails.
Do you have a recommendation?
I have a recommendation that I have access to the same resources and tools the rest of you do. So I'm recommending that I have my emails restored until we have a policy in place, and even after that, as well as a more impartial committee to bring before the council when we disable emails. Like you all know, the voicemails go into email, so I don't know who's calling. I don't receive that.
Okay. Anybody else? So it seems Alderman Wilson was more so saying that we probably need to add a provision in here that allows for the restatement of the email, or yeah. And so that's not included. So if you can note that.
I'm sorry.
So a provision in here that allows for alderman email to be reinstated.